Welcome, welcome, welcome. An unusual circumstance on this week's Beyond the Booth. Our friend Phil Harris is out sick, and normally me and Phil and I will do this over the phone and kind of drown the audio. But tonight I got a special guest, and you know him from the Tyler Van Show. He's on all the shows around here. Hey, his best show may be, and I can't wait to get back, is It's Still Real to Me, Howie. I cannot wait for me and you and Jeremy to get back on the air with some pro wrestling news.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All three of us is involved with football at the moment, so it's kind of hard to be able to do that now. But I know I got some big shoes to fill by filling in for Phil tonight. So for the people that's wondering, no, I'm not really Phil Harris. I'm the Howie Chaney. Phil's a lot better looking than I am, but I do have him in height, though.
Phil's got a little respiratory issue going on. Not bad. Just he needs to rest up. He's got 4 hours on the radio tomorrow night on QSB.
3 hours, 9 to 12.
That's a lot of talking. Of course, you'll be storming the sidelines, updating us here on River City Media, but more important, keeping stats for the Sylvania Rams as they go for their first region championship. I believe I read Howie since 1994. Does that sound right?
No, that's not right. They won just a few years ago, but they've got a chance to go undefeated in the region since 1994, I think it was.
I got it. I understand. I was reading a different article, but that's big. And we both got to be on the sidelines this week at Sylvania. And every week we get the pleasure on Tuesday of spending a couple hours with Coach Van and several of the players. So we'll talk about that in that big battle this weekend over at Hoax Bluff and how they could clinch that region championship. But we'll start in Tennessee and we'll end up in Alabama, Howie, if that's okay with you. So a lot going, also, folks, Tennessee, Alabama week. Your boy got to represent his university. Howie Chaney repping the Braves, but we know where his heart lies. Should be a good game, Howie. With Atlanta Falcons, I know it. We just posted you and the Falcons over. You playing the shell game over the Falcons on River City. Yeah. Let me run through. Go ahead, Howie.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with you. It should be a great game this weekend. Two quarterbacks that are, if they were professional quarterbacks, they'd be on the hot seat now, whether or not they'd be starting the next week. But I agree with what you and Coach Van said the other night during the picks. I think it will be a low-scoring game.
I think if you're a gambler, the under is the best way to go. Look, I'm not going to lie. I think Tennessee wins. I'm a Tennessee grad. I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm a Tennessee alumni, if you can't tell by River City Media. But I think they win with defense, Howie. I don't think we see anything near 52-49 that we did last year. I think we could see closer to 9-6 than we could 52-49.
Yeah, the last game that Lane Kiffin coached for the Tennessee-Alabama game?
Yeah, the 2 field goals blocked, the 9-6 game, Mount Cody. Yeah. I think it could be closer to that score than 52-49. All right.
Not that we condone gambling, but what is the over-under on that one? I thought you told me the other day, but I couldn't remember.
Let me see if I've got it right here on my phone.
Well, 52 or something, I think it was.
It's pretty high. I don't know if it was that high. Let me see here. SEC, 47.5.
I agree with you. I'd go with the under on that one myself.
You would have to get 24-23, both teams in the 20s, the mid-20s to have that hit. And I don't think there's one team going to get in the 30s and the other one have 17 or 18. I think whoever hits 20 first wins the football game. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because it's going to be a defensive struggle, and it could be like that the Mount Cody game. It comes down to the last possession.
It could. And you know what I said to Coach Van in person the other night is the truth. I don't care as much as if we win or lose. I mean, I want to win with everybody else. What I care about vehemently is Alabama fans now care about the game again. You know, it was hard for an Alabama fan to care about it after 15 straight. But I guarantee you the whole state of Alabama now wants to beat Tennessee. And Howie, that's the way it should be. I mean, it should be the way it is. People in Alabama should want to beat Tennessee, and people in Tennessee should believe they have a chance to win. You know, so that's what this game's special.
I have saw more on social media. I saw more of people saying the hate Tennessee week than I have in the last several years.
It's back. Tennessee
it
hate
is back.
I'm going. And Jermaine Funny Man, who always does the videos, he ended his video saying it's hate the snitches week. So that's all good, man. It's all in fun. I will we'll maybe throw out a couple of predictions. I think everybody knows our predictions, but we might throw them out again at the end of the show. Howie, let me jump over here to Tennessee. A couple of these games I want to get your comments on. Alcoa, 17-time state champion. I mean, 17 times. I think it's 17 out of 19, Howie.
Yeah.
That'd make Paul Benefield jealous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive right there. It don't matter what level you're at. 17 out of 19 that's very impressive right there.
A 3A team just like Squatch County. We've seen them in the playoffs about 5 years back. 49-0 over Scott. Baylor continues to roll 49-10 over Life Academy out of Virginia. Bearden over Oak Ridge 33-29. And here another one, Howie, Bradley Central, undefeated from up in Cleveland, have 3 commits on the secondary. 2 to Tennessee and Boo Carter and Marcus Gore. And the third one is committed to Northwestern, a Big Ten school. So you have 2 SEC commits in a Big Ten school out of 1 high school secondary. And they're undefeated, 35-0 over Red Bank. And Howie, I think this Chattanooga area, who has struggled mightily in the playoffs the last few years, outside of a few places like Tyner, won a state championship last year. I think the state of Tennessee, I think Chattanooga area might have 2 very legitimate state titles, or 3 very legitimate state titles from the Chattanooga area in Bradley Central in 5A, McCallie in large school private, and South Pittsburgh in 1A. For a town of, 400,000 people versus a state of 7 million to win 40% of the titles is pretty impressive.
Oh, absolutely. That defensive back that you're talking about, the whole backfield back there, I bet most teams, they just put 11 men in the box and try to run it down their throat because they know they're not going to get very many passing yards.
Well, and Red Bank's not a bad school. Red Bank's a pretty good 4A school, and they just knocked them out. We talk about Red Bank later when we get to Hickson. That same Red Bank team's going to come up here in a minute. Dobbin's been at over William Blunt, 46-21. Elizabethton over a Volunteer, 56-0. Gibbs over Morristown East. I'll try to get out of Knoxville, folks. Chattanooga Christian, Lakeway Christian over Chattanooga Christian. Lipscomb Academy over Knox Catholic. Maryville over Cleveland. Bradley County has 3 very good football teams in it, Howie, in Walker Valley, Bradley Central, and Cleveland. But I want you to think about this. And you've been there, a little Marion County. The number 1 team in 1A is South Pittsburgh. The number 1 team in 2A is Marion County. How impressive is that?
What separates them? Maybe 5 miles?
It's probably closer to 10, but not more than that. Not more than 10. Maybe 8, 7 or 8.
But there's some great players that comes out of both of those schools, South Pittsburgh and Marion County.
Yeah, and we were talking about it in comparison to Sylvania, Fife, Geraldine, Pisgah, that's a little bigger area, but I don't know the population's that much bigger, Howie, because those towns are
Right.
really small.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some great, really, really great friends that lives in Marion County, and they used to keep me updated about Marion County and about some of the college players that was signed out of Marion County High School to go and play college ball. And very impressive out of a small area like that so many great players come out of there.
So many. And, right now you're looking at already committed. Martellus Bennett is committed to Auburn. He's leaving in December from that South Pittsburgh team. Jacob Saylor, that is from East Tennessee State, is a Marion graduate that signed with the Falcons on Thursday. So he was added to the Falcons 52-man roster on Thursday, and that's a Marion County boy on the Falcons roster.
And also, if you've never been through South Pittsburgh during football season, go out of your way to drive through there because the whole town decks out for football season.
Yeah, and hey, if you don't like Marion County or South Pittsburgh, you can drive up the road, and Whitwell's still in Marion County's only ranked number 7 in 1A. So it's not like that's the 3 high schools in that area. And Whitwell, a little bit out of the beaten path, but it's in between Sequatchie County and South Pittsburgh. Marion's good football there. And a football team at game 10, you're going to see probably a top 5 Whitwell play a top 5 South Pittsburgh team. So let me get some of these scores out of the way. Not a lot of people played in Tennessee last week. McCauley over Father Ryan, 40-10. McMinn Central with a big win over Kingston, 31-28. Meigs County over Polk County. Sevier County over Daniel Boone. South Pittsburgh over a Chattanooga Prep team that I saw a couple of weeks ago. Chattanooga Prep loses to South Pittsburgh 41-14. And Wartburg Central over Sunbright. Howie, I think we had 222 teams or 223 teams on bye in the state of Tennessee last week.
I was fixing to ask you, what's the reasoning behind that? Do you know?
It's just we all play a district schedule. We all play 11 weeks. Our week 1 to week 11, we have a bye week built in. And we don't play the first week. You end the year playing exclusively in your district. So the districts give you your schedule. So a lot of teams had the option of their district schedule was off for week 8. And they chose to play early in the year. And right here in the middle of their district region run, they get a bye week. Now, I know that for Sequatchie County, we've played 2 back-to-back region games, took the bye, and then we have 2 back-to-back region games with Grundy County and Giles County. And I think it's just convenient. In Alabama, you have week 10 where you get out of region, like you'll get Sylvania 5 matchup. Week 10 is usually your biggest region matchup in Tennessee. We get Giles County, which will be both of the teams are going to Giles County 5-0 probably in the region. So you got that big emotional game right at the end of the year in your region.
Right. It's smart if you do take this week off or last week off for Tennessee because it gives you a chance to kind of heal up as well if you got some injuries that you need to kind of help get better. Well,
to give you an idea, that's my every score in East Tennessee last week. And I did Knoxville too. Now, this is my normal region schedule. 1 page, 2 page, 2.5 pages. And that's from like over in Grundy County up to Knoxville. So, we had probably half the games we normally have.
Right.
I want to talk about some region games down here real fast. Up in Knoxville, you get their version of Pisgah, Sylvania, or Sylvania 5. Two schools that are probably less than 5 miles apart. One of them's won 11 or 12 state championship. The other one we done talked about is won 17 of 19. You get Alcoa and Maryville, and arguably outside of Baylor McCallie, maybe the biggest game in the state of Tennessee each year. And Howie, you see those rivalries down in Alabama. These are a little bigger schools, but it's so heated down there. The only thing I can really compare it to is maybe Scottsboro Arab or something huge like that. Scottsboro North Jackson when North Jackson's rolling.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know, the bigger schools, don't take nothing away from it. But down here, like you say, the Sylvania Plainview, the Sylvania Pisgah Ider and all that, you got people that's going to church together. You got, you got fathers that are working together on opposite teams. You got kinfolks from one school going to the other school, you know. But when you got bigger schools like that, you don't necessarily have it, but you still don't like each other.
Yeah, and, you know, like right now at 5, I believe one of the legendary Sylvania players' son plays up at 5, if I'm not correct right now.
Yes, Logan Anderson's playing at 5 right now, which you're talking about his dad, which is Chad, that played at Sylvania, and also Chad's brother Josh was a couple years older than him, but Josh's son is playing at Sylvania.
Yes.
So
yes.
you're gonna have cousins matching up against each other here in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Also, big games up in the Chattanooga area. Howard and Chattanooga Central. These are two struggling teams, but traditional rivals. Howard, Howie, has got a football facility that's being built right off the interstate.
Yes.
And it is world class. And I'm glad for Howard to have that.
The last time I came up through there, I saw the new stadium, the football field. Looks like they got a track field built on there as well. The stadium, the bleachers and everything. It is very nice to see that for Howard because they deserve something nice.
Absolutely. Here's one that is kind of a feels like a Plainview Sylvania rivalry. Bradley County and Cleveland, about 6 miles apart in Bradley. Cleveland just last week celebrated their 1993 state championship. Bradley's the #1 team in the state. Both great programs. Whitwell and that Chattanooga Prep team play in another seeding situation. Hickson and Red Bank, Howie. And I'm going to stop here and I'm going to complain. And if you're of a member of the TSSAA, I'm going to complain, and you probably don't want to hear me. But Coco Kendricks, I was at the game at Chattanooga Prep and versus Hickson. Coco was kicked out of the second game of the year with a personal foul. His appeal was denied. Now you have a situation with Hickson, who started the year 0-2, have won 6 games, goes to Red Bank to win their first region championship in decades, Howie. And now they got to do it without their best player. It's not that the rule said you kick the player out if he gets the personal foul. I was at this game and I have plenty of reasons to doubt whether the personal foul was actually that player. And I don't think the appeal got heard very successful. And you know what? Coach Van talks about reffing being a hard game, and it is. And those refs, they have to make snap decisions, Howie. But if you have a decision like this, who's a tailback being recruited by UVA, Wise, a school up in Virginia, and now you dismiss him for the final 2 games of the regular season, you've done something to really affect that football team. And I don't believe they had the clear-cut decision to affect that football team in that way.
Now, why is he suspended for 2 games?
He was in a fight early.
Oh, I've lost Randy for a second. Randy will be back here in maybe just a second. Till he comes back, I'll start rolling off some of the. There he is. Okay.
Hey, I think we both went out. So in the Chattanooga Prep game, he was blocked into the bench at Chattanooga Prep. Supposedly used a word that's not pretty, not good, should never be used on the football field. Him and about 50 kids around him. But somehow the referee picked out this one kid and said he said it. The kid's been here on River City Media multiple times. The kid would tell me, I have a feeling, because he told me the first time, hey, I threw that punch. I deserved it. So by being kicked out of 2 games this year, the first one at Meigs County, he threw the punch.
Okay.
Now he's got to set out 2 games. And Howie, the only thing I'm asking is be 100% sure it was him. You know?
Right,
Give the appeal due diligence.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize he had been ejected from a game earlier this season, so
yeah.
I didn't know. If I'm not mistaken, in Alabama, the rules are if you get ejected from a game, you have to set out 1 game. I don't know what the rule is if you get ejected out of 2 games, if you got to set out 2 games or not.
It's a 2-game suspension. It will end up affecting him his senior night and his arch crosstown rival, and that's just a rough blow, man. And I'm not. If the kid did it, he deserved it. But I don't have a doubt in the world he didn't do it, Howie.
Right, and not only just you feel bad that he's going to lose out on senior night, lose out on a couple of games. This may affect some scholarship offers as well.
If I'm UVA wise and I don't do my due diligence, and I've offered him, and I hear he's been kicked out of 2 football games. That's very disturbing. So,
yeah.
I hope if you're one of those people that have some power at UVA wise, make sure your school continues to recruit this kid. But anyway, Red Bank, Hickson will travel to Red Bank, region championship on the line.
Now, hold on a second. Red Bank and Hickson. Is Hickson, no, that's where Annalee's going to be going to school?
Yes.
And that's where her Uncle Phil went to school, was Red Bank?
Yes.
Little rivalry there between the Cunninghams and the Harrises, huh?
I know it. We've already talked about it. Uncle Phil's a line, and we are Wildcats over here. And you talk about schools that's not far apart. I pass by both schools almost every day, And if I left my house and went downtown and took Dayton Boulevard, I'd pass Red Bank High School on my way to downtown. So,
right.
And Hickson's not been very good in the past. It's just recent, so it's even more special to these kids.
Right.
This group, this would be like section to use we got a lot of Alabama listeners. This would be like section all of a sudden putting together a region championship team or a spread of 5 or 6 years where they're able to compete with anybody in the area. Hickson may be the best team in the city of Chattanooga right now, Howie.
Oh, wow.
Besides Baylor and Macaulay, which are private.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I may step on some toes here, but I don't count private schools.
Yeah, we do it different. It's Baylor and Macaulay have more kids from out of state on them than probably the University of Tennessee does.
Yeah, I even here in Alabama, I feel like if you're a private school, you need to compete against other private schools, and that's it. You shouldn't be competing against regular high schools. But anyway, it's great for
run it up 94-7, and I'll say it, and I don't care if he's ever on River City Media. That's one of the most tasteless things I've seen ever.
Right. Yeah.
That's
yeah, absolutely. But Hickson having a great season this year, and this is something those kids can look back on and think, hey, we were the start of this.
Yeah.
We're the first group that come through to do this. And and encourage these younger kids to keep the tradition alive.
And Coach Rivers, great young coach, played college football at UTC. Coach Sean Cooley, who I had at Sequatchie County several years ago. There's a couple of coaches from the old Sequatchie County staff that Sean played for that's over here. We've got our own version of Coach Arnold over here at Hickson. It probably the ball was communist is. But going into the season, Luke Finch, a great young quarterback, a sophomore at Hickson, probably one of those kids that's you talk about maybe getting a chance down the road of playing at a different level. Broke his ankle in the Jamboree. They lose 2 games of the year, and since then have been perfect, even beating a Lenoir City team that is a traditional state power. I mean, going to Lenoir City and winning that football game.
Right. So, hey, my hat's off to the group of kids at Hickson to start it up, and let's hope those younger kids learn from this and keep the tradition going.
Yep. And we talked about Coach talked to Coach Van the other night about Andretti and how he feels comfortable with 35 yards in with Andretti.
Right.
Isaac Smith, all-state soccer player too, being recruited by several schools, is the kicker at Hickson. Isaac has hit a 51-yarder, I think, his career long. And I think you could probably anything inside the 40s automatic. Probably over the 40, he's got the leg to get it there. I don't know that it's automatic. So had a 90-something yard punt in a game this year, Howie. So
wow.
Shout out to Isaac Smith. Just a great kid. And if he plays college football, more power to him. If he plays college soccer, more power to him. Just go get that education, son. And he's got the talent with soccer that you might see him beyond the college level someday, playing in one of those leagues. A couple other games to mention, and we'll jump over to Georgia real fast. Tyner's at my alma mater, Ray County. East Ridge, the best story in Tennessee, Howie. Start the year 0-6. 0-6. Now, or 0-5. Now are 3-5 and trying to fight to get in the playoffs. So Coach Barker has been here on River City Media. Great guy, great coach. And I just love to see it. Last game of the year will be East Ridge and Hickson. So that's another one of 2 hot football teams. I love Coach Barker. You would too. He's a great guy.
It doesn't matter how you start the season; it's how you end.
I think if they finish, I don't know if they got to win 1 or 2 or win both of them to get in the playoffs. I should have asked Coach Barker. And one more game that I want to mention, of course, you can listen to me on I started to say WQSB. I'm so used to plug and fill. Listen to me on 93.3, and we'll have a full coverage of Grundy County, Sequatchie County tomorrow night. So make sure to tune us in. And
are you on the road tomorrow night?
We're at home tomorrow night. Last home game of the year, senior night at Sequatchie County. I think as long as we win one of the next 2, which I don't set lines, but I would say we're probably touchdown favorite tonight, Friday night. As long as we win one of the 2, we're guaranteed 1 home game. Win 2 or 2, we're the region champions. So a lot to play for at Sequatchie County.
Absolutely. That's that's one of the goals that you start out the season with. One of them you want to do, you want to go undefeated. The next thing you want to win that region championship.
Yes. Howie, we always throw a few Georgia scores in here just because, Georgia boots up against Chattanooga. So we follow several of the Georgia schools around this area. But unfortunately, did I get the Georgia schools? I think I got the Georgia scores. Let me try a little bit. I'm going to ask you, go ahead, Howie, if you've got some Alabama scores to give them while I pull the Georgia scores up.
Okay, a couple of 7A scores real quick while you're looking for that. You got, of course, everybody knows of Hoover here in Alabama. They were on the two-a-days, and Coach Pruitt was there for a while. Hoover beat Tuscaloosa County 37-10. Thompson, where Tua Tagovailoa's little brother went to. Anyway, Thompson, a powerhouse here in Alabama now. Thompson defeats Oak Mountain 68-7. And the 7A score, Grissom squeaks by Albertville, which is Albertville is just about a 35-minute drive from where I'm at right now. So it's 13-12 in that 7A, Grissom and Albertville. Moving over to 6A here locally, Fort Payne defeats Hazel Green 35-14. Gadsden City, which is in the same region as Fort Payne, Gadsden City beat May Jemison 42-13. You had Buckhorn over Lee 34-22. And let me see if there's someone else close by in the 6A. Not really, but Hartsville defeats Athens 21-14. And we'll move on to 5A now, where we got quite a few local teams. Arab defeated Boaz 63-35. Scottsboro defeats Sardis 41-21. Leeds defeated Alexandria 48-14. West Point defeated Ardmore 21-14. And Jasper defeated Carver 50-42.
It always messes with me. Y'all got a Jasper because Marion County is actually technically Jasper.
Right.
Go ahead.
Did you get the Georgia scores anywhere? Or?
I did. If you want to jump up, we'll jump back and do the Sand Mountain scores in a second.
Yeah, go ahead. And
Georgia was also super light this week in Georgia, but I do want to get what scores. And I also wanted to ask you, didn't Thompson win a state title a couple years ago too?
Oh, yes. If I'm mistaken, they've won 2 or 3 in the last few years.
Yeah. Let's just knock Georgia out, and then we'll come back and do the smaller schools in Alabama. We have Bowdon 48, Christian Heritage 17. Calhoun continues to try to right the ship. Traditional state power, Calhoun 48-13 over Whitwell. Howie, this is not really a Georgia score to me. This is an Alabama score. Dade County 42 over Coosa 7. And it's good to see Dade County, who played well early in the year, even played number 1 Marion County well. Dade County kind of struggles. There's not kids. It's not like some schools where if you want to play football at different schools, you can in Dade County. They're not close to any other high school in Georgia. They're closer to North Sand Mountain than any high school and Alabama school. But it's good to see Dade County win a couple of football games.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you was talking about that, Dade County and North Sand Mountain is a pretty good rival right there. They, as far as I know, they play all the sports against each other, the football, basketball, and baseball.
Yeah, and they're just up the road from each other.
Because it's the closest home game for either one of them, to be honest, because North Sand Mountain really don't have – the closest school to them would be Ider.
Yeah.
That's a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, I went home that way the other night when I left Sylvania. Went all the way up 75 that way and came down right there short of Trenton. So that's a pretty good little drive.
Yeah.
Dalton, 38-13 over Cass. Dalton preparing for their playoff run as normal. North Marion over Fannin, 38-28. Big rivalry there. Rockmart over Murray County, 57-0. And Trion. Trion's just one of those good football programs up here, Howie. Over Chattooga, about 52-17. Go ahead and let's hit back to those Alabama scores.
All right, dropping into 4A for local schools around here. Randolph defeated DAR 75-13. North Jackson, which you know a lot about North Jackson. You've watched a game or two up there, haven't you?
We're on those sidelines for several years. I was up there when Philip Lawley was there, and let me tell you, you didn't get much bigger than North Jackson football.
Absolutely. North Jackson 40-8 over Priceville. And let's see, we got Westminster 48-7 over Madison County.
Hey, it'd be remiss if we didn't mention North Jackson starts the year off of either 5 or 6 in a row losing. That's 2 in a row for North Jackson.
Yeah, great job by them. St. John Paul, 67-38 over New Hope. So we'll move on down to schools that we're a little bit more familiar with. We'll start off with Geraldine 30-7 over Westbrook. That's a big region win for Geraldine there. The game that me and you was at, Sylvania 42-8 over Plainview. So that sets it up for Sylvania going for a region championship tomorrow night against Holt's Bluff.
Howie, this is my first time seeing Sylvania in person, and I was so impressed by them. I know Coach Van wants to throw the football around, but it's a little bit like Coach Heupel at Tennessee. He wants to throw the football around, but his running game is so good. And the same thing at Sylvania. I know they had a little success in the air the other night, and Griffin does a great job throwing the football around and got a great stable of wide receivers. But when Sylvania wants to break something big, they put the ball in number 2's hand, and he's about as good. You talked about the Anderson boys. He actually reminds me, he's kind of a throwback to those Andersons back in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and before we move on, I want to, if I had a hat on, I'd take my hats off to you as far as being able to do the Coach Tyler Van show without actually being at a game. The one night that I worked the concession stand against Sylvania Pisgah and came on that next week to do the show, I was totally lost because I didn't know I was there, but I wasn't able to see the game. And I'm like, how does Randy do this week in and week out without actually being there? I know you watch film, but it's still not the same.
It's not. And, one thing that Coach Van is always willing to do, he's willing to share a little information with me. And I don't think I go beyond what he's willing, to share public. And every now and then watching that film, I'll send him a question, like, hey, Coach, it looks like they're just really squeezing Aiden every time he gets the ball. And he'll be very honest with me. And, we don't say it on the Coach Tyler Van show, but it was the first high school football weekly show that I knew of anywhere in the South. And Coach Van's never ran from a question, Howie. So he'll give us an answer. He might answer it by saying, you guys don't need to ask me that right now. And that's rare. He gives an answer, and he'll go so far. And, we're lucky Coach Van's willing to do that every week. And going from those kids have just, man, I just love them all. And they're just all great kids. And I told Coach Van, standing in the hallway the other night, his kids are some special kids, and they are, Howie.
Yeah, absolutely. I get the privilege of being with them week in and week out. And, they've, just like they did you Friday night, they accepted me to be there with them, and they'll come up and they'll talk to me. And not one time have they asked me about any stats or anything, but they have asked about questions about the show. Once the game gets out of hand, they will, they'll kind of loosen it up a little bit and start talking about other things than the football. But, I enjoy being with them on the sideline, and I know you did last Friday night as well.
I did. I certainly did. We might even got a coach campaigning to be on the show. Well, we might have got a coach. But, I don't even think I realized how special that show is until I was down there the other night.
Right.
That community really supports us and loves that show. And I think I take for granted every week that I don't know how many people are in Sylvania, but 3,000 or 4,000 watch that show every week. And I just want to give a shout out to them, and I probably should do it on that show. But if they happen to stumble across this, I thank you for supporting us. And Howie and I, one of the parents said to me, thank you for putting so-and-so on the show. And all the way home, Howie, I was thinking about, they don't have to thank me. I'm the one that gets to have the privilege of doing that show. And I feel so blessed to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said Tuesday night, I do the show to get to know these young men off the field. I know what to do on the field. I see it.
Yeah.
But I want to get to know them off the field. That's why I ask some of the questions that I do, just to kind of get them to open up. And some people think it's stupid by me asking some of those questions. But, hey, I'm trying to get them to open up and tell a little bit about their life.
Yeah, and the reason we poke at them a little bit is to get them to open up, to get them to talk, to have fun with them. It would be a tragedy of me and you and Coach Van to bring them on here and just make it, well, we can see you missed that coverage in the fourth quarter.
Right.
One part of it is getting on there. And, I keep going back to that interview with Ashton Cooley. And I got off the show that night and I couldn't sleep. I'd laughed so hard. And Aspen this past week calling me Howie Chaney all night just to aggravate me. And, they've not been one of those kids ever been disrespectful to me, to you, to anybody that listens. And that says a lot to Coach Van, Coach Willingham, Coach Clark, Coach Arnold. How you might know more names, more names than I do, but
that's you forgot your main man, Coach Wilson.
Coach Wilson, I was going to get him. He got his own. He's going to get his own segment. But it is intense. They take care of business, but I guarantee you, Coach Wilson will make a Tennessee joke at Coach Van's expense if he needs to. So they have fun and great program. Special people. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to some more scores real quick. Piedmont over Glencoe, 58-12. Oaks Bluff over Ohatchee, 35-6. So that puts Sylvania against Oaks Bluff. But like we talked about the other night, and I mentioned to you, or maybe it's on the phone call we had yesterday. Either way, it's one of those things where Sylvania's got a bullseye on their back. They're going to get the other team's best week in and week out.
6-2 Oaks Bluff team too,
right.
and still got a matchup with Coach Smith down the road, and Coach Van. Coach Van has got to finish his season with Coach Smith, Coach Benefield,
right?
And had a 300-game winner across the field from him this week. Coach Van is lucky he's learning the lessons he is learning from some great coaches.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to move on to 2A now. Some of the local scores. Fife defeated Sandrock 47-0. Collinsville defeated Ider 54-0. Section.
Hold on. Does that set up this week, Fife and Pisgah?
That's you jumping ahead of me.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Section defeats Whitesburg Christian 21-20, giving Section 2 wins in a row. They're kind of rolling here at the right time of the year as well. And like you said, the Pisgah North Sand Mountain was 54-13 Pisgah, which sets up a huge region matchup for the region championship this week at Fife. Paul Benefield Field. It's not his stadium. I think it's the field. At the Paul Benefield Field, where Pisgah, number 3 in 2A, I think it is, going against number 4, Fife.
We've been lucky to have both those coaches, Coach Pruitt and Coach Benefield, on this show. Matter of fact, Coach Benefield might have been their first guest ever on River City Media. He is one of the first 3 or 4. I remember we got 1,000 views, and I was so thankful that he had came on and do the show. Coach Benefield is a good man, and thanks the world to you too, Howie. I mean, he always – we can be at media days, and he'll be talking. He'll look and go, "Hey, Howie," or what? And Coach Pruitt came on here with me and Phil. And
no, Martin. Now make sure you say Coach Luke Pruitt, because you got two of them in the area.
Yeah, Coach Luke Pruitt was on a few weeks ago, and just humble, grateful, just the kind of guy you want running your program. So if I could be anywhere other than where I'll be Friday night, it'd probably be in Fife, Alabama. And I can't imagine what the crowd's going to be like over there at Paul Benefield Field. If I bet you they're 5 deep on the wall or on the field by the kickoff. And that's not field either. I mean, it's very nice, but it's not large stadium, is it?
They've got a fair amount of bleachers on their home side. Visitor side is not very high, but it goes down to like nearly the 15s, from 15 to 15. But it's only about 10 or 12 bleachers high.
And our boy Jeremy Johnson will be on the radio, so we y'all go out and support him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's every year close to the playoffs, they bring in you got a group of guys that brings in a 40-foot long trailer that you haul stuff on. They bring it in and set it at the end zone there, and people bring their lawn chairs and get up there and sit on that trailer and watch the game. And I guarantee you they're going to bring it. It's going to be there Friday night because, like you said, it's going to be standing room only if you can get in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll move on real quick. Knock out the rest of these scores. Cleveland over Gadsden, 28-8. West End over Holly Pond, 44-24. Move on down to 1A, and Phil's alma mater, Valley Head over Appalachian, 34-8.
Big win by the Tigers.
Tigers. We're not going to give Coosa Christian score. Decatur Head is 21-6 over Woodville, and Cherokee 46-0 over Vina. Those are basically all the local area scores for you.
So 3A region gets settled. 2A regions get settled. I think the 1A region's got a couple more weeks to go to get it settled. But that's a lot of that area, 1A, 2A, and 3A. And, of course, you got Cherokee County in 4A, defending state champions. And, hey, Scottsboro's having a nice year in 6A, I believe.
5A.
5A.
5A, yes. You know, the region doesn't end up this week for Sylvania and Fife and all that. They still got another region game coming on, but they can cinch it and be the number one seed for the region and get home field advantage.
Yep, big deal. Big week.
Huge week here in Alabama, especially locally with a lot of the schools. Like I said, like we talked about the Fife against Pisgah and Sylvania against Hoax Bluff, and then Valley Head is still vying for a number 2 spot, if I ain't mistaken. Yeah. And before we get off here, let's go ahead and let's congratulate Ethan Webb for being voted or nominated for the North-South All-Star game coming up in December.
Hey, that's big. That's big. 6'2", 210 lineman. I saw that today. So congratulations to Ethan for that. Coach. Of course, we love Coach. He's been on this show, Coach Robert. I think Charles Robert
Hammond.
So
Coach Hammond, yes.
Yes, and we love the fact that Valley Head always seems to have that special athlete. You know, last year they had 2,000-yard rusher, and then come back with a lineman and had a good year. Valley Head, it plays good football in 1A.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Ethan ever since he was born, and if I knew he was going to end up being as big as he was back then, I'd treat him a lot better. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. There's a few of those stories I got. Well, Howie, before we leave, we usually get out of here in about an hour, and let's get out of here. I want to get your comments about Hoax Bluff, too. And that one, it seems like, you know, they kind of struggled with Plainview, but the 2 games they've lost been to 2 very good football teams. Sylvania's got their hands full down at Hoax Bluff this week.
You know, anytime you go anywhere in high school football on the road, you're going to have your hands full. And when you're going against a team like Hoax Bluff, I think I heard you or Coach Van mention one where they run the I formation. That's something you don't see much in high school football here in Alabama no more because everybody's gone to the shotgun, pistol type formation, and you don't really see quarterbacks underneath center no more. And we saw a real rarity last Friday night with Plainview running the option out of the wing tee.
Yeah. Hey, and we'd be amiss if we didn't mention Tay Rutledge. He played a pretty good ball game to get beat 42-8. Tay's a heck of a football player.
Yeah, absolutely. He carried his fakes out so well that we both lost where the ball was several times.
Yeah, if you listen to my little hat, I lost. I'm on the sideline losing the football, so it was ugly at times. So I think that one's going to be good, and I'd love. Not going to ask you to give a prediction, but I'd love to be up at number 3 versus number 4 up at the Paul Benefield Field. Yeah,
it's going to be a great game. Last year they played twice. Last year, Fife got the best of them, and as the guy that I'm filling in for, Mr. Phil Harris, as he would say, they got a crawl in there. They got a cuckleberry underneath that saddle there because those 2 losses last year, and they want to redeem that this year at Fife.
Yep, and this is a year that Pisgah is very senior laden and very junior laden, and Fife's young. I think Coach Benefield will tell you this is one of his younger teams.
Probably so. I haven't talked to him very much this year, and when I have, it wasn't really. I know he gets bombarded with football all the time. So when we talk, we do speak a little football, but most of the time it's just about life in general or trying to crack each other up. So
the Green Bay,
and it don't take much for Coach Benefield to crack people up because there's no telling what he's going to say.
No, there's none. There's none. He's still, when I asked him about why he didn't throw it more to the tight end, and he explained to me the object of scoring touchdowns. Still one of my best moments ever. So
it's it'd be kind of like you getting tore down by Johnny Majors, I guess.
Absolutely. I love and respect Paul Benefield more than he'll ever know, because I wouldn't admit it to him even if I did. So.
But Randy, here we are. We're in week 8, I think we are here in Alabama. Y'all are getting close to winding down as well. Has this football season not just flown by?
It has, and I'm worn out. I told somebody the other day, I figured up I do about 10 hours of content between here and the radio station, and it feels like 100 by the time we get to this point of the year. But then you look at the schedule, and you're in week 8 and 9, and you're in the 3rd Saturday in October in college football. It's Tennessee-Alabama week, It just –
And the 10 hours that you do is not – I'll admit it, it's not even counting the times that I've texted you about other stuff as well as far as football-wise.
I spend probably 5 more hours a week just talking. We'll pick up the phone. Of all people that shouldn't want to talk about football, I'll just pick up the phone and call you, and we'll just start talking about the Falcons or Alabama or Tennessee or, Coach Benefield or, I think you're just like me in the fact, Howie, I love every level of football. For you, high school football and the Falcons. For me, it's high school football in Tennessee. But as soon as Tennessee ends, it's the Falcons for me. And don't tell me that Friday or Saturday you ain't going to be sitting there peeking in on Tennessee, Alabama too, just like everybody else.
Now our good friend Clayton Powell Lee is playing at home Saturday as the early game, so I'm still thinking about going and watching it.
You know what? If it wasn't Tennessee, Alabama, I'd go with you. I love Clayton Powell Lee, and he's having a heck of a year. What a huge win over Miami the other night for them.
Absolutely. But then it was a letdown after that by getting beat by Bowling Green, though.
Yeah.
But next week they got North Carolina coming in as well. So
and Drake May, and they beat North Carolina last year.
Right. Number 10 coming in next week as well. So I'm hoping they're not looking past Boston College this week toward North Carolina coming in.
And number 1 Georgia sitting at the end of the year.
Absolutely. I think they're coming into Bobby Dodd Stadium.
Yes, and that they actually closed their year at Knoxville at Bobby Dodd. So Georgia, everybody talks about they've got an easy schedule, but I'm going to tell you, Neyland Stadium and Bobby Dodd, they'll probably win both games, but they ain't easy places to play.
No, not at all. And Unfortunately, the game at Bobby Dodd against Georgia Tech, it'll be more like a home game for Georgia because of all the people in Atlanta that loves the University of Georgia.
That is true. That's true.
You know, I figure our good friend G-Mon would probably be there as well watching them.
Yeah, we got to get him on, do a little more Falcons talk. And of course, we got 3 minutes. Let's wrap it up. But I want to ask you about the shell game and getting to be on the field with a beautiful young lady and getting to take your girls down there. That would look like fun, Howie.
Unfortunately, we wasn't on the field. We were still up in the stands, but it was a designated area where I was surrounded by the cheerleaders, which I hated that.
I'm sure that was horrible.
Yeah, it was rough. But we were there on the side there, and she texted me and said, "Hey, could you do it?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, if I need to." I said, "But don't, I was like, don't do it just because you think I want to. But if you need someone, I will." She's like, "Hold on a second." And then she got back in contact. She's like, "Yeah, we need you to do it." And I said, I will do it. Whatever you need. So I was able to go down there, and usually before it starts, I just holler out a number before it even starts, just try to guess what it is before it even starts moving. So this time I actually had to watch it and watch everywhere it went. So it was great. It was fun being able to see that and being a part of that. And
shout out to friend Allison Smith.
Allison videoed it for me. And then also I got some more video. I haven't sent it to you yet, but I actually got the legit I got the video from the legit camera that was actually recording it.
That's cool. That's a lot of fun. Howie, football special this year's getting short, but still got a lot. I just realized I look like Barry Windham with this gray in my beard. If you ain't seen Barry Windham, he got fat and gray beard too. So I got fat and a gray beard too. Sting, one more from the wrestling show. Sting officially announces a retirement.
I watched that probably 10 minutes before we went on the air. I was surprised at that, but when it comes to wrestling, you never say never.
When it comes to Sting, you never say never. When it comes to Danny and Randall Cunningham, you never say no ever. Thank you for filling in for Phil Harris. We appreciate it, Howie.
Hey, Phil Harris, get feeling better, man, and looking forward to listening to you tomorrow night.
You big pancake eating. Listen to you and Jeff Allen on WQSB. Find me on 93.3 Country Roads. Our friend Jeremy Johnson, I think it's on Fun 95.3 for 5 football.
And I'll be at a buffet come Saturday morning.
I've been at a few lately too. For Howie Cheney, Randall Cunningham, you're probably tired of seeing us. This is your weekly high school football magazine, Beyond the Booth. Thank you for joining us. God bless you, and we'll see you down the road.